Hey everybody, let's talk seeds. By request, I'm going to do a seed video. I've tried this before and wasn't successful, so let's try again. Okay, I've got these grouped for you. What I'm talking about is planting in zone 6A, 6B. We have this property that is in 6A. The farm is in 6B. I haven't noticed much of a difference at all. So it's pretty much zone 6 and you're safe. Okay, we're going to start with the brassicas. The brassicas are your cabbages, cauliflower, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, those kinds of things. They have to be in soil 40 to 45 degrees. That means it has to maintain a daytime temperature of 40 to 45 degrees and not go below 40 at night for your seeds to germinate. So if you want to wait that long, you can direct sow, but I suggest that while it is cold now, you start, I've got cabbage. Look how little these little seeds are. All of the brassica seeds are little. Now, the rule of thumb for planting is you plant the seed twice as deep as the seed is wide. I never measure. It doesn't have to be exact. But I am going to do Georgia collards, red acre cabbage, golden acre cabbage, sprouting broccoli, and golden acre cabbage. Now, the seeds in these little packets, all these seeds I got from one of the Homestead Heart. She sells her seed packets for $1.50 a piece. You can't beat that price. And her seeds do germinate. All mine germinated last year. They were great. So your brassicas, go ahead and start them now. And when your nighttime temperature, you have a 10-day forecast, is not going to be below 40 degrees at night, you're pretty safe to plant them. They are not frost tender. So if you do get a mild frost, it's not going to kill those plants. If you're going to get a hard frost, you can get that garden fabric that's see-through white. I don't know. Now that prices have gone up, the last time I checked, it was like $15 for a 50-foot roll of it, 3 feet wide. And you can lay that over your plants so the frost isn't directly on those leaves. If it does brown a few leaves, it has not killed your plant. So don't worry about that. But the brassicas, I would start now. And now by between the new moon, which is the 25th of February 2023, and the full moon. You can plant your seeds anytime during that new moon phase before the full moon, and they do better. That's what the old farmers did. I'm not going to have a discussion about is that moon real or not, but I just do what my grandpa did. But I would start the brassicas inside now on the 25th. Okay, other cold weather. We're doing cold weather. Those can tolerate the cold weather. The other cold weather crops are direct sow, which means you put them straight in your pot, in the ground, your raised bed, whatever you're planting in. Now, the only exception is cucumbers. And cucumbers will not germinate unless it's between 50 and 70 degrees. So you have to direct sow your cucumbers, and they can tolerate the heat. Your brassicas don't tolerate the heat well. So those are spring and fall planting plants. Okay? If you do have to let them mature, and we get a burst and the temperatures get up above 85, I have been told by a seasoned farmer that you can take the leaves, the larger leaves around your cabbage and cauliflower and broccoli, and wrap the heads and take a string and loosely tie it and that will protect those leaves from extreme cold if we get a snap, or extreme heat. Because with the cauliflower, if it is too hot, you'll know it's too hot and go ahead and cut your plant and eat it, whether it's very big or not. The cauliflower starts to turn yellow. The broccoli starts to turn a little yellow, so, or a lighter green. So you can plant those, but you have to harvest them before the summer heat. They don't do well. Those are spring and fall plants, all except for the cucumbers. And the cucumbers they will germinate in 45 to 70 degree temperatures, but you really just need to go ahead. The carrots, radishes, let's see, I've got carrots, radishes, cucumbers, the beets. You need to have your beets, it needs to maintain an evening, nighttime temperature above 45 degrees for your beets to germinate. And I'm just telling you what I'm planting this year. If there is something else that you're going to plant that you want to know about, you can ask Mr. Google Pants, or you can leave it in the comment section below. But turnips, those are all direct sow, okay? And they have to be at 70 degrees to germinate. But they don't tolerate the high heat. And the same goes for all of the seeds. Let's see if I can get one separated here. You plant the seed. Oh, they're sliding. Twice as deep as the seed is wide. Okay, that's the rule of thumb. Okay, next, you must. Those will be killed by the heat. That's why you want to get them planted now. You want to plant your tomatoes and your peppers now, because don't panic. It takes far, far longer for your peppers, any type of peppers, to germinate in the house with your controlled temperature than it does anything else. So don't panic. Doesn't mean your seeds are bad. It can take up to 2 weeks longer for you to see a little sprout of a pepper plant. Okay, the tomato plants have to have heat. Tomatoes and peppers have to have heat. And you really want those plants to be more substantial when you put them outside. If you up-pop them regularly and don't let them get long and spindly, they will have a more substantial stalk and do far, far better for you when you do put them outside. Okay, so they need heat, have to have heat. Okay, next is, I'm going to do loofah gourds, zucchini, yellow squash, butternut squash, and a straight neck squash, yellow squash. Those can be started outside. It has to be 50 or above for those to start thinking about germinating. It can kind of stunt their growth. You can start these seeds indoors. So by the time the temperatures are around 70 and you can transplant them outside, or even if it gets a 60 or 65, you can start these inside. But you can also direct sow them. And I had something go through my head that I was going to tell you, and I forgot what it was. It might come to me. Okay, your flowers, any flowers that you want to put in your garden to bring the bees about, go ahead and start those inside. I know what I was going to say. If you do start, it has to be warmer. It has to be 70 degrees or warmer for typically your squash, your zucchini, your pumpkins, those kinds of things, your gourds. If you do start them inside, understand, don't start them now, because you will have the runners. So you want to wait until the temperatures do increase to start those inside. It is good to start those inside. And I just remembered what I was going to tell you. The direct sow plants that I talked about, the cucumbers, the carrots, the radishes, they don't transplant well. If you disturb their roots, they will not make it. So that's why you wait till it's warmer to direct sow those kinds of things. I would like to direct you to Deep South Homestead. Danny King has multiple videos and has written a book on planting carrots, English peas, and sweet potatoes. Excellent books, excellent videos. He is a wealth of knowledge. I would direct anybody to Danny King. But your tomatoes and peppers, get those started with everything else, but wait as long as you can, even if you have to keep up potting them, to get them in the ground outside. You want to know that it's never going to be below 70 at night when you put them outside. Okay, chives. If you start, eggplant. Eggplant is also one that is very, very hard to grow. Get your eggplant if you want that started now, and let it be a substantial plant when you put it outside. When you're starting your seeds inside and you put them outside, you have to do what's called hardening off, which you put them in the shade on a warmer day, on your porch or beside your house in a shady spot. Let them start getting used to the temperatures, because it's warmer inside than 40, 45, 50 degrees outside, and it can shock your plants and they can die or be stunted. So make sure you take at least every day for a week and set them outside a little longer every day, but bring them in at night to start hardening them off. Chives and onions, you can, those came from Homestead Heart. I have seeds from Baker Creek. I like Baker Creek. I also have seeds from M.I. Gardner. He's an awesome source, but I noticed in his store the other day that he's getting low on some things. Chives, you can take your chive seeds, put them in a tray of just dirt and let them come up, and cut them as you need them. And you can, if you can put something under the tray that you can lift the whole thing out. If you want to put it in dirt, you can do that, or soil. We call it dirt here, but some people are fancy and want to call it soil. But you can start your chives in a container, and it doesn't matter how thick the seeds are. You just start snipping them, and you can eat them that way. Now, your onions, if you want to start those from seeds, you can do the same thing. But then you're untangling little roots if you do them too thick. The chives, it doesn't matter. You're just cutting the tops off. Let me see. What else? Pumpkins. Start those later and make sure it is 75 to 80 degrees before you put those outside. So you want to start those much later. You can start all of your herbs now except basil. You do not start your basil. Look how little those seeds are. I have a time with these little seeds. Basil's very easy to bolt in high temperatures, and it grows very quickly. So you want to wait. Let me make sure I change the page, because I got in trouble about 4 years ago holding up a paper plate that had somebody's information on it, and I got hammered. So let me see if I have a blank. Oh, January is blank in this calendar. Oh, it's December. No, January's not. Maybe December is. Have to have a blank page for y'all. Well, everybody knows that Lily is a New Year's baby, so that's the only thing. I have one of these calendars, just a book calendar, and I went through and You know, with the grand solar minimum and weather control, we really don't know what our weather is going to be. And I have tried to buy types of seeds that are at least 1 or 2 zones higher than mine and a zone or 2 lower. So I have seeds, I'm in zone 6, that will grow in zones 4 to 7 minimum. So no matter what our crazy weather is going to be, I know my plants have a chance. But I had marked in my calendar, your winter squash, don't put it out until May and direct sow that. So all of the squashes, I'm probably going to direct sow because they have such runners. So all of my squashes, pumpkins, the gourds, anything like that, I'm going to wait till May and direct sow those. Okay. March is a good time to plant your beets. Now, beets is a root vegetable. So let's talk about root vegetables. You need to direct sow your root vegetables at least 12 to 24 hours after the peak of the full moon. Old farmers, just bear with me. That's the way I do it. I'll do the beets, the carrots, and potatoes. Now, that doesn't include sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes, you need to decide when you're going to plant them. Early June, usually in zone 6. You put 2 or 3, depending on how many starts you want. It's called slips, in some very good, rich, moist soil. Dampen the soil before you plant your potatoes, and you do not water it again until you start to get shoots, the green sprout off of that potato. Those are called your slips, your sweet potato slips. You break them off from the potato at the base, and you plant that slip, not the sweet potatoes, but all other potatoes, your purple potatoes, your golden potatoes, all the other potatoes, russets, doesn't matter. Those go straight into the ground. Now, if we were to get some crazy weather anomaly and you have planted your potatoes and the green sprouts have started, the leaves have started to come up, and you don't get them covered to protect them, you can cut those back. Now, it will stunt the size of your potatoes slightly, and sometimes the number of potatoes you get. So if you have that white garden cloth that you can put on it and keep the greens from being burned from even a light frost, you're good to go. But if we get surprised and get a heavy frost or snow, like we did last year in April when I had set my plants out, y'all remember I killed over 160 seedlings last year. So we don't want to do that. I don't want y'all to do it. Learn from my mistake. I am going to set everything out 2 or 3 weeks after they project, maybe a month after they project our last frost. I will not put my peppers in the ground a minute before June. Peppers have to have that heat. Tomatoes love the heat. Now, you can put your tomatoes out in May, but, you know, you've already started them. You should have good-sized, substantial plants by then. The stalks should be nice and thick for you if you pot them the way you're supposed to, and you're safe in planting those in June, and we'll get a summer harvest, not a late summer harvest. But they have to have the heat. Let me look at the rest of my seeds. Make sure I've covered everything. Watermelon, that's the same. Direct sow. I'm not going to do any of the direct sowing until the last week of May, first week of June, to make sure, since I got so many things, at least the last week of May. But you can Google all of this information for the temperatures, what temperature your direct sow plants like the cucumbers and the radishes and the beets. It's all 40 to 45 degrees is what you have to have the temperature at night to never go below. But if you forget, you can Google every bit of this information. There are hundreds and hundreds of videos. Now, I have found it hard to find videos for Zone 6, A or B. Most of everybody that's got the seed bug, that's starting seeds right now, if you will pay attention, they are all in Zone 7, 8, and 9 right now. We cannot have our seeds in a greenhouse in Zone 6 right now. We have to start them in the house. Now, there's some controversy over grow lights and heat mats. I have a rack in front of a patio door that I start my seeds, and when they start getting the least little bit too big, I up-pop them from the tray and put them in solo cups. And they will stay. Now, you have to cut holes, a few holes in the bottom of your solo cups so the water can drain out. And you set them back in, you know, the tray that you took the little seedlings out before you up-potted. But that is all I'm going to worry about planting this year. I want to can all the tomato products and peppers. I'm also going to do, I don't like things real hot and spicy, and neither does Ethan. So last year, I killed all of our jalapeno seedlings and had no more seeds. So now, this is just a jalapeno, the wonderful taste of a jalapeno with absolutely no heat. You can mix, if you want jalapenos and just a little bit of heat, you want to make cowboy candy or your salsa or whatever, you can put half regular jalapenos, half jalapeno peppers in it, and it will, see, they look just like a jalapeno. That will cut the heat down in your recipes a little bit. But I am only planning on doing things that I can this year. So I want tons of tomatoes. As far as your charts on how many plants to plant, there's so many variables. You know, how many jars of whatever do you want to can? If you're just going to can tomatoes, the best way, let me tell you the best way to peel your tomatoes. Freeze them, set them out, let them thaw in room temperature, and the skins just slide off. How easy can that be? You can put them in a freezer bag or just set them in the freezer plain. The skin protects them. But that's the easiest way to peel a tomato if you're going to be making spaghetti sauce, tomato sauce, pizza sauce, canned tomatoes, ketchup, you know, salsa if you don't want the skin. The salsa and things like that, I will probably just use an immersion blender. I could care less. I do have a food meal that I can run them through, but unless I can can it or freeze it, and I'm really not big on freezing because who knows if we're going to have electricity. I'm going to have a freezer at my neighbor's farm because he has electricity, and he's getting ready to get a huge whole house solar system. You know, I only have my Blue Eddy and a smaller little solar generator. I was trying to do what I'm doing on a budget, but I would like to have access to a freezer. I would like to freeze some peppers and corn. I will not be putting corn in my garden. I'm going to use the neighbor's garden for my corn because he has a bigger space, and I'm having to move my garden this year because of a power line where my garden was last year. I'm going to be planting, listen y'all, I've lost my seeds again. Oh, about 3 years worth of seeds. About $1,000 worth of seeds I've lost because I have seeds. I know where my green bean seeds are because I bought 5 pounds of those. And they all germinated just fine last year, and they were year-old seeds. I keep them, you know, they're cool. They're in a dark box. They're in a Mylar bag. So I just bought green bean seeds to last me forever. Oh, green beans. Those are direct sow after the temperature is 70 degrees. I almost forgot my green beans. But tomatoes, green beans, jalapeno peppers, the jalapeno peppers, sweet banana peppers for Ethan. He wants the jalapenos and the sweets. Hot banana peppers, because I'd never tried cowboy candy until this year, and I love it. So I want all those peppers for cowboy candy. I'm going to do yellow peppers, red peppers, green bell peppers, the pumpkins, watermelons, the salad stuff, that is seasonal. When it's snowing, I'll refer you to Roots and Refuge. That was her video, I think, that really shot her. She just took the lid of a tote and opened up a bag of potting soil and put her lettuce seeds in that, and then a clear tote and capped that on top of it. And she grew lettuce all winter long. So, that stuff is cold hardy. So we won't have a lot of lettuce in the summer in the heat. It doesn't like the heat. It won't grow. But the seeds I just went over with you, minus my herbs, if I find my seeds, because I can't afford to replace all those herb seeds. Most of them in zone 6, your herbs are perennials. If you get to zones 5 is iffy, depending upon how cold it gets at night. My goodness, people are probably going to have perennial herbs that didn't make it through a week's worth of minus 50 degree Arctic blast that we had this year. But most herbs are perennials, and they'll come back. My son seems to think he knows where that tote of seeds are, and I hope and pray that he does. But most of your herbs are perennials, so you can plant those. I wouldn't put them. The danger for trying to overwinter anything in a pot is that pot can freeze and get cold unless you wrap it in 2 feet of straw, and give it an insulation. Depending upon where you have your herbs in your pots, if you want that unsightly mess. But most of them are perennial if you will put them in the ground and have them mulched deeply once, they're established. So you don't ever have to worry. Most of your herbs will come back every year. So you'll have all of your spice herbs, and then herbs that are just for medicinal purposes. I have one that I had ordered. Like I said, I get all of my seeds from Homestead Heart, Baker Creek, and M.I. Gardner. I like their seeds. I have found all 3 of those companies have a really good germination rate. None of them had lovage. Now, I don't remember what was in that book. I showed y'all that book in a video last year, what lovage, what its medicinal purpose is, but it was in some seeds that I had. I ordered these off of Amazon because that was the only place I could find them. But I think that's just about it. Make sure you, listen, let me give you some advice on the potting soil. Seed starter is, the seed starter bags of what you get is peat moss. It doesn't want to absorb the water. The water will run off of the top before it ever goes to the root of the plant. It has absolutely no nutrition in it whatsoever. So I made that mistake one time on one batch of seeds. I will never use a seed starter soil again. Potting soil. Just potting soil. Or you can use any kind of regular soil as long as you put vermiculite. And I'm going to tell you, when you first start your seeds, any fertilizer you use is not going to be there and still end up in your fruit. I want my tomatoes and peppers to be beautiful. You can bet your sweet bippy I'm going to be scattering 10, 10, 10 on those babies until they start to develop and get well developed. Once they poke up, once I put them in, I will use the 10, 10, 10, put it, you know, where I'm going to plant it, cover it with a little soil, let it sit there a week. I'll go back and fertilize it again, and if it doesn't rain, I'll water it, and then I'll fertilize it again. The fertilizer just helps with the green part, you know, for the foliage to grow, and then I won't fertilize it anymore. And with the rains that we'll get, none of that fertilizer is going to be in that cabbage. None of that fertilizer is going to make it to those peppers or those tomatoes, you know, any of that stuff. So you can use fertilizer to start your seeds and make sure they have the nutrients they need. The seed starter has no nutrition in it. None. It's peat moss, basically. So I would just use regular potting soil. Add you a little bit of Miracle Grow or some 10, 10, 10 when you first start them, and it is not going to get into your fruit and in your system. It's impossible. It doesn't last that long unless you're dumping tons. And I'm just saying use just a little bit. So I think that's about it. That's all I have for you. If, like I said, if you have any questions, just put them in the comment section or use Mr. Google Pants or look at any of Deep South Homestead's videos, any of M.I. Gardner's videos. He has videos of his raised beds. Homestead Heart, she has some awesome videos. She has a video on the hoop house, greenhouse made with the cattle panels. I would suggest that you go look at that. I am hoping when we start our hoop house, greenhouse, that I get to video that and can show you how we're going to do mine. My sons are going to help me do that. Anytime it comes to a circular saw, I'll use any other tool but a circular saw. Every time I go to touch a circular saw, nope, something stops me, so I won't use it. But that'll require a circular saw, so, or a chop saw. I'll use the chop saw, but it takes two people to hold the boards and, you know, do everything you're going to do to set them up. So, but Homestead Heart has an awesome video on a hoop house. I would suggest anybody that has any area whatsoever for even doing the cattle panel hoop house for a greenhouse, I suggest you do it. With what has happened, tomorrow I am ordering a water tester. If you saw my video on what my buckets of water look like, that should have, in no way should my buckets in a year's time have never been green. They've been as blue at the bottom as they were on the side. So get a water tester. They're under $20 on Amazon. I know, Amazon. But I know you can get them at a reasonable price there. We don't know if, you know, I was going to buy some more fruit trees this year. I'm not. I'm going to air graft my apple tree in case, you know, we do have clean enough air. But I'm not going to invest in a lot of fruit trees if our air is going to be full of chemicals and we can't eat that fruit. I don't know that we can get a greenhouse airtight enough, and especially in the summer, you know, you can't let it be 100 degrees, over 100 degrees for a substantial period of time. Definitely for your seedlings, it would kill them. They have to be, you know, temperature controlled for the seedlings to get a good start. But try to get a greenhouse. That's the best. You know, I don't know. I don't even know if that's going to work. I heard somebody say, and I don't remember where I heard it, but the chemical that was released from that burn is an ingredient that they used in Agent Orange, that even all of our boys died of cancer during the Vietnam War because of that. So anyway, I'm going to let you go. I didn't want this to be too awful long. 35 minutes isn't bad. But remember, rule of thumb, plant your seed about approximate, don't measure, not that big of a deal, about as deep as your seed is wide. That's all. I just usually poke my finger in there and cover it up with a little dirt. Not a big deal. So that's it. Let me know if you have any questions. I am going to be starting these seeds over the weekend and next week. I don't know that I'll video that unless somebody says, please video and show me how you're poking your seeds in. I can do that if you want me to. Ask me. But these are the seeds that you need to be starting now, not your direct sow seeds, especially your tomatoes and peppers. Get those in the dirt and start them germinating as fast as you possibly can so they're substantial plants when the temperature is right. So, happy gardening. I hope you have your seeds. Doesn't matter where you get them. I even have some seeds from the dollar store. Listen, I have a horrible time with carrots. I'm going to use Danny King's method of planting the carrots, covering them with cardboard, and after about 7 to 10 days, start checking them every few days to see if they've sprouted up, and have them in loose sandy soil. I even have dollar store seeds. So it doesn't matter where you get your seeds, as long as you have seeds and as long as you have plenty of seeds. So happy gardening, happy canning, happy eating. Remember, don't be scared. Just be prepared. Have your seeds. Love y'all. Bye-bye.